Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Paycheck Protection Program has delivered over $718 billion in critical relief to small businesses. It's set to expire exactly 1 week from today. Secretary Yellen and Chairman Powell, is the economy at a place where Congress can safely end PPP relief to small businesses?
So, of course, the economy is not at a place where small businesses that have been affected are able to thrive. I'm not sure how much money remains in the program, but there is some, and I would be supportive of an extension.
Chairman Powell?
I would defer to the Secretary on that question. Thanks.
Well, in February, 3 out of every 10 small businesses said they would likely not survive 2021 without additional government assistance. Now, fortunately, the American Rescue Plan included $7.2 billion for PPP loans and second draw PPP loans. But if Congress doesn't reauthorize the program in the next 7 days, that money will never reach struggling small businesses. So I think it would be reckless and cruel to let the program expire when there are still about $50 billion of desperately needed PPP funding remaining and businesses waiting for relief. So I'm glad to hear that you agree that it should be extended. The Center on Budget and Policy Priorities estimates that as of March 1st, there were 13.5 million adults behind on rent and an additional 10.3 million adults behind on their mortgage payments. As we've seen throughout this crisis, the brunt of that pain is being felt in minority communities. 33% of black renters, 20% of Latino renters, 16% of Asian renters say that they were behind on their rent compared to 13% of white renters. The American Rescue Plan included $25 billion in rental assistance, nearly $10 billion in homeowner assistance, and one of my major priorities, $100 million in housing counseling to help renters and homeowners avoid foreclosure or eviction. Now, Chairman Powell, you recently said that there is a real crisis, that when there is a real crisis, quote, don't stop until the job is done, close quote. Would you say that current mortgage and rental payment delinquency rates, particularly among minority families, indicates that the job is done?
Well, I would say actually the level of distress was very, very high and has recently been coming down a bit, but it's still quite material. And so that crisis is certainly not over.
So is providing housing support both through rental and mortgage relief what you meant when you said, quote, Congress, of course, has come with quite a strong fiscal policy? Would this be part of that fiscal policy?
I meant that statement as a general statement, that the fiscal response overall has been remarkable, frankly.
So, but a fiscal response that leaves millions of people out of their homes, whether they be as renters or homeowners, isn't going to be a fiscal response that's going to provide us long-lasting benefits. Is that fair to say?
I would say it is.
Okay. Let me ask you this. With 402 economists, the Board of Governors employs far more PhD economists than the largest university department. However, only 24% of the board's economists are minorities. Things are slightly better at Treasury. Only 30% of the 148 economists employed at the Department of Treasury are minorities. Secretary Yellen, you previously stated that if economists are mainly of one gender or race, they are likely to miss things that matter. Chairman Powell, do you agree with Secretary Yellen's statement?
I very strongly agree with it.
I'm sorry, please finish.
I'm just going to say we clearly benefit from diverse perspectives. We see that every day.
Let me ask you both then, considering the current makeup of Treasury and Federal Reserve economists, are either of you concerned they might be missing things that matter?
Yes, and I'm very focused on pursuing diversity and hiring to make sure that we do have diversity in the economics team at Treasury and throughout Treasury. It's a very high priority.
And at the Federal Reserve?
So this is something very, very high priority, something we've worked hard at for some time, and we're not at all satisfied with where we are. We do a lot of outreach to historically black colleges and universities, as well as Hispanic serving institutions. I met with a group of, with a class actually of minority students from historically black college just last week. Spent an hour with them. But more than that, we have a systematic program to encourage more minority kids to study economics, and if they do study economics, to think about the Fed and that sort of thing. But there's a lot of work to be done there. It's a challenge we're very focused on.
Well, I'd be happy to work with both of you in providing individuals, I think, who presently could meet the challenge. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.